Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of the Glimmer Gang podcast. We have a great episode planned for you as we're recapping Miami TCG Con. We also have two or three great special guests for you today. But without further ado, everyone, take it away. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Glimmer Gang podcast. It's been a bit, but we do have some very special guests today. We are joined by the Illumiteers, Liam and Aaron. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, fantastic. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, obviously, we are right on the heels of Miami TCG Con. It was probably the biggest event that we've had since Gen Con, and we'll get into that as the day goes on. But the first thing we're going to do is have you guys introduce yourselves. Who are you guys? What do you guys do? How did you guys come into the Lorcana space?
So we are the Illumiteers. We're a husband and wife team of content creators. We've been covering Lorcana, since it was announced. So
yeah, since D23 last year.
A year now.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've been joined recently by our new co-host, our little one who's 7 weeks old and occasionally likes to chime in when we're talking Lorcana.
She has a lot of opinions.
So many opinions. But we cover Lorcana. We particularly focus on like the art and design of the game, connecting with the artists, and really building community. We love collaborating and trying to take a look at things that we think some other people aren't looking at. But and we love collaboration, so this is perfect.
Awesome. Well, I know we have Spencer and Blake here, obviously, from the Glimmer Gang. Without Sean, he has work, but he will hopefully be back in the next episode. But we are all super happy to have you guys. Let's check in with the regular GG guys. Spencer, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. I have slept in the last 24 hours as much as I slept in the previous 4 days. So it's been an experience.
It is the con life.
And then Blake, how you doing, my good sir?
Doing good. Made it back safe. A very uneventful flight, which is always what you want on these trips. So
that is good. Yeah, I know after Gen Con, lots of people ran into flight issues. So happy to know everyone got home all in one quick piece. But before we get into talking about Miami, we're going to take a look at some of the new cards we have. And Liam and Aaron, now you guys each picked out one. So why don't you guys talk about the two cards that we've gotten the past week-ish or so that you guys want to talk about and bring to the forefront?
Well, you know that we're going to take a very Illumiteer lens on these cards that we've picked. And so for me, at least, I'm always looking at art and lore, usually more than I am at gameplay mechanics. So the card I wanted to talk about was Donald Duck Deep Sea Diver, which I think we saw today for the first time. So this is hot off the presses. From a mechanics standpoint, I mean, it's a vanilla card. It may see some utility. We see some like Cerberus have been played in competitive decks. But for me, what makes this card so special is the art and lore. First, it's a Nick Cole piece. And anytime Nick Cole does anything, it's just beautiful. Yeah. And the angle we're looking at here, looking up at Donald with the way he uses light, that we're deep under the water because we're in the same era that we saw in the mini card. And Nicholas Cole uses light in such a way to make it seem like it's bright down there, even though we're deep in the ocean's depths with some fish swimming around. It's so cool. I'm loving this steampunk diver vibe we've gotten with a lot of cards. I think this is riffing on an old ride. I have to look it up, but that was at Disneyland for a while, or Proposed. So it's just really cool from an artistic perspective. And then we're really getting story here for the first time in two places. One is in the flavor text where it says, you go on, I can't do a Donald Duck voice, or I would right now, but you go ahead, Minnie. I'm going to see if there's any lore over here. And then that's accompanied by, on Twitter, Disney Lorcana saying, quote, what started as a carefree diving adventure in Lorcana soon turned into much more. Their Illuminator companion had asked them to stick together, but when Donald Duck turned his head for a moment, which is on the flavor text of the card, Minnie Mouse disappeared. And then we likely see where she went on her card where she's looking at Ursula's Cavern. So between these two cards and this quote, like, we're seeing story. I think maybe for the first time, we know exactly what's going on, and it's fantastic, and I just love it so much.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I know you guys can go on and on about lore and the art, and it's so amazing to hear. And yeah, just like seeing the Donald have the mini in the background was something that caught my eye first because I didn't read the flavor text and like until a few hours after. And then I saw that just seeing Minnie in the background telling that story is super cool to me. And I know obviously there's a lot more to come, I feel, from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's such. I'm so excited for that card. I'm hoping maybe we see more divers. Similar to kind of how we saw a series of the Madam Mim and Merlin cards.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of
Yeah, I was
Madam
about to
Mim,
say,
I heard you have a Madam Mim card to talk
I just
about.
segued myself. Yeah, so I wanted to when Liam told me that y'all wanted us to pick a card, I immediately went to Madam Mim because Madam Mim was a character I had been begging for since probably last fall. I was a huge Sword in the Stone fan as a kid. So I picked Madam Mim Purple Dragon, which is the most recent Madam Mim card that was released. She has evasive. She quests for 4 lore, which is awesome. And I love how these Madam Mim cards, just in general, tie into the story of this battle that plays out. So this card specifically has the ability I win, which is when you play this character, banish her or return another 2 chosen characters of yours to your hand. We kind of see this as a progression of the other Madam Mim cards that have been revealed over the past couple of weeks. And I think that what's so cool about this is really nodding to this battle and her shape shifting her way through the battle. So you're returning her former shape to your hand and playing her new shape. When this final animal comes out, the dragon, which her flavor text is, "Did I say purple dragon? Did I say no purple dragon? Did I?" Which is a direct quote from the movie. In the film, she not only shapeshifts, but then she grabs Merlin, who is currently a mouse, and he kind of disappears in her hand. And so I think that that's kind of what, in this card, the 2 chosen characters is nodding to. Not only is she shapeshifting, but then Merlin kind of disappears as well. So I really love how they are playing out this battle through the cards. And yeah, I just think it's really, really great and full of flavor.
Oh yeah, I would never have thought of that or even known that. Hence, I've never even seen the movie. But beyond that, that is actually really cool to see and just have that perspective. Spencer, Blake, do you guys have any thoughts on these cards more like in competitive aspects? I know we all think Madam Mim's going to be real good competitively, but do you guys have any thoughts on these two cards competitively?
Yeah, for Madam Mim, I just love the whole line with this battle, and we'll get into some of the other ones later. But for the top end, for the competitive aspect, I don't know how strong this is going to be since you're giving up so much tempo within a single play. So you're really going to have to benefit from what you're sending back to your hand. And hopefully, since she does not have Ward to stick around, she will more than likely eat Dragonfire or some other removal by that point in the game. So hopefully she works out. I want her to work out. But right now, I'm just not seeing it happen yet. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, with
Spencer, any thoughts?
Oh yeah, I've got thoughts. On that note with Madam Mim, it's when it comes to TCGs, a lot of times there's stuff like this where it looks like it's a cost and it's a negative, but you can spin it into a positive if you're approaching your deck building or your strategy, in certain ways. So one of the cool things about the Madam Mim and the returning 2 cards to hand is, one, we already see with all the Merlins that there's cards that gain benefits from when things are returned to hand, and we'll see more of that develop as we get more cards. But So that's one way to take advantage of it. But the other is, you talk about, losing tempo, and then, potentially being subject to, a Dragonfire or something of that nature. But at the same time, you can use those cards that you would bounce before you play the Madam Mim. And that allows you to, get your value out of them. And then if you're expecting those cards to be destroyed, so say for example you quest with them and you know that your opponent has an Aladdin Heroic Outlaw on the other side of the board and you don't want them to get challenged, well, now you're able to play your Madam Mim, bounce those cards back into your hand. You have them available to play later, and now you don't have to worry about your opponent getting something out of removing them. And then now you still have this really, really strong character that your opponent has to find some way to deal with, or you're going to be in a really, really good position. And so there's definitely lines of play where the bounce aspect is going to be beneficial. Now there's going to be times obviously where you're not even going to be able to play her because you don't have, 2 cards on the field, and you don't want to just put her down and have her be immediately banished. So it's going to be situational, but there's definitely going to be the opportunity to use that effect to your benefit. It's not just a cost. As far as the Donald goes, from a competitive aspect, I don't think we'll see a whole lot of play, because he's the same stats as Captain, and we just haven't seen Captain used at all, although he is in a different color. But with Resist coming out, having more strength is going to be more important in the future than it has been in the set 1 meta. So we might see that shift to where that extra strength matters. And so then we start seeing Donalds instead of Cerberuses and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that works out. I do really also enjoy this this particular card, because, well, and the mini, together, because it really showcases like the lore aspect of the game, of them going out into the Inklands and gathering lore, which is like, it's what we're doing in the game, but so far none of the cards have really referenced it directly, whereas this one is just in your face, like, I'm out here looking for lore. And I think that's really cool, and I hope we see more of it. I know a lot of people have speculated that, like, chapter 2 we've got Rise of the Floodborn, then chapter 3 is going to be like Into the Inklands or something. And seeing, a card like this, I'm excited to see where they take that concept and really showing off that aspect of the story.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of story to be had with these cards, as the Illumiteers have showcased. And then there's also could be competitive viability. Obviously, I don't. I also agree with the fact that Donald may see play depending on how strong Resist is, and then Madam Mim, very situational. But my mind goes to Ruby Amethyst. If that does stay a thing, you play Madam Mim turn 7, Mickey turn 8. You have a lot of lore on the field, so there's options there. But obviously, Teddy, that's me, Spencer, Blake, and I have all picked cards to talk about. Blake, I'll kick it to you. What card did you pick to talk about today?
I also chose a card that's hot off the presses that was released today, and that is Tigger, One of a Kind. He is a ruby, 3 cost, 3 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore, and he has the ability of Energetic. Whenever you play an action, this character gets +2 strength this turn. So we're seeing more of these actions matters cards. And Ruby pairs really well with Minnie, who wants to play a ton of actions. And I was looking through some actions in the first chapter and a couple of the set 2 ones that we have so far, and just seeing what looks like it could work well. And he's got a sword, and Vicious Betrayal give him +4 attack, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then you also got for set 2 improvise, you can get the +3 strength and card draw off of that. Also, fan the flames, you can have them attack multiple times. One once into something small, and then fan the flames, and then attack into something a bit larger. The other one, I don't know if this color combo would really work for the actions matters, because so far from what we've seen, it's mostly emerald and ruby that kind of have the actions matters. But I looking at amethyst with freeze
Mm-hmm.
being able to exert a character and challenge into it for 5. It's a really nice play, I think. I don't know if that'll be a big thing in the future, but it's definitely a nice play, I feel like.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that deck works out.
Yeah, I think obviously actions matters is going to be something that comes up in set 2. It'll be experimented with, and it will be tested to see if it is viable. But Spencer, what card did you want to bring to the table today?
So we talked about, the Madame Mim Merlin Wizards battle. So I went with Merlin, and I had to go with the GOAT because this card is going to be the GOAT. It's a 4-cost. I'm doing this off the top of my head if I remember. 4-cost inkable, 4/3/1 lore. That when it enters or leaves play, you gain 1 lore, which is crazy. So it's one of the first cards. It's the second card we've seen that you can gain lore immediately the turn it's played. The first being the Sorcerer's Spellbook, and just the fact that these cards exist now completely changes the landscape of the game and the way that it's played. Because right now with set 1, you can always see how much lore your opponent has available to score on the next turn, so you can always react to it appropriately because you know what they're going to be doing. But now that we're getting these cards where you can gain lore immediately with no interaction from your opponent, it changes the pace and the timing of the game and how you have to approach it when you're planning out your turns and what you need to be doing in order to be successful. Especially once you start getting into, certain combo situations with this particular card that can let you gain, depending on how much ink you have available, tons and tons and tons of lore without your opponent being able to react. And I'll save that for, because I think Teddy, you're doing Bibbidi Bobbidi, right? That's the card you chose? Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll let you jump into that.
It is the card I chose.
Yeah, I'll let you jump into that card, and then we can talk about how that card affects Merlin.
All right, I'll quickly run through Bippity Boppity Boo. It is, I think, an amazing card. It's going to be very good. It's a 3-cost uninkable. It's a action and a song, and that song part of it makes it even that much better. And you get to return chosen character of yours to your hand to play another character with the same cost or less for free. Which means you can do lots of cool things. And there's like Lady Tremaine, not Lady Tremaine. Yes, Lady Tremaine from set 1. No, the right card. Yes, I am thinking of the right card. Lady Tremaine from set 1. You can do this a lot. And I think that's just like the first thing, but like once you get up to like the bigger cards like Genie, John, like what you can do essentially is you can play Genie on the job or have him on the field. Oh, I would say more play him. And then you use a card 3 cost or more to sing Bippity Boppity Boo, put Genie back in your hand, and then I guess it would be more if you had it on the field. But you can then go and play John Silver, which is kind of crazy. If you have enough ink, you can, or no, yeah, you just be able to play John Silver. I don't know what I'm saying. You just be able to play John Silver with Genie on the field. And I think that's just crazy. Like, being able to play both of those cards in one turn, absolutely bonkers. and obviously there's going to be so many more combos that come with this. But Spencer, what did you want to say
Well,
about Bibibibu and
so the
Merlin?
thing that's super relevant, and even in the example that you just gave, is that it's been confirmed that because of the timing of the card, you can play the card that you return to your hand. So in the example you just gave, you could play Genie, sing Bibbidi Bobbidi, return Genie, play Genie again, and bounce 2 cards. I mean, at that point, it's really no different from singing Mother Knows Best and playing Genie. But in which is like super crazy because you can like play in Elsa, sing it, return Elsa, play Elsa, freeze 4 things, Maleficent Dragons, etc., etc. Which just makes it makes the card way more reliable and much better because you don't have to be in a situation where you have to have a card of the same cost as a card that you have on the field in your hand. Now you can just play the same card that you already have, that you already returned, which is great as long as it has an ETB, or it's a good opportunity for you to, like I was talking about earlier, you can bounce it back to your hand, replay it so that now it's ready and it's not exerted so your opponent can't challenge it, etc., etc. There's tons of lines of play with this card, and it's just amazing in general. With the Merlin specifically, it gets insane because you can play your Merlin and gain 1 lore. Then you can either play or sing Bibbidi Bobbidi, return the Merlin to your hand, gain a lore, and then play that exact same Merlin again and gain a lore. And you just gained 3 lore in a turn without your opponent have any way of interacting with it at all in any way whatsoever. And then unless your opponent can win the next turn, you're guaranteed at least 1 more lore on your turn, because if they remove the Merlin, you're gaining a lore, and if they don't, he quests for 1 lore. So it's like I said, it really changes the way that the game is played, because there's no situation right now in the game where your opponent can go from a completely empty board and 17 lore and win the game. But now they can. Depending on how many, copies of the cards and how much ink you have available, you could go from like 12 lore and win the game potentially, which is kind of crazy if you have oodles and boodles of ink, which is so it's gonna totally reshape the way that the game is played, and I'm excited for it.
So yeah, obviously there's going to be a lot of great combos that come from this. A lot of great things to see. But Liam and Aaron, obviously you guys are the art masters. Anything you guys noticed with Merlin, Tigger, or Bippity Boppity Boo that you guys thought had any value to like the story or something along those lines?
I mean, so the first thing I'll say on first thing I just want to say on Bibbidi Boppity is I completely agree with all of your takes so far. This card, I think we're going to see a bounce archetype like deck in this game forever now. The same way we see certain archetypes exist in Magic or any other competitive card games, and they fade and they come and they go, but they're always there. It just depends on how competitive they are on the meta at the time. And this card means I think the bounce archetype is a thing. But as far as the art of the particular cards you all mentioned, I mean, nothing special to say. I mean, we really think it's all fantastic. We see some new artists entering the Lorcana arena with a couple of these cards. I think Shaw is a new one. Lady Shalyn, I think, only has a combo card last set where she worked with another artist. So this is her first solo card. And so I think that's the big takeaway for me is I always enjoy the moment that we see a new card revealed and a brand new artist enter the world of Lorcana. And we get to look up that artist and become familiar with their careers. So it's something that's pretty special for us. I guess that's the one thing I would highlight.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. I mean, one thing that we're seeing come along in set 2, they changed out the borders of all of the ink colors for this set. They've updated them just a little bit. I believe they have, based on what we talked about before. Elena thinks that is a fascinating point. So they've updated the borders just a little bit for set 2, and I'm loving, once again, you really see it in Bippity Boppity with the magic, kind of having that the art reflected in the border types. I always love when we saw that in set 1, and they're continuing kind of that trend in set 2. But yeah, just echoing Liam, really excited to see some new artists jumping in and having an opportunity to meet them and get to know their styles and their histories.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear Elena's thoughts one day on the art. That's gonna be a treat.
Her favorite color is emerald.
Ooh, okay. She's a control player. I like it.
Indeed.
She likes that. She likes that lore stealing stuff and all that. But yeah, obviously these cards are great, and we're gonna get a bunch more. We still have a ton to go. But now let's jump into the real meat of this episode, and we're only already basically 30 minutes in, but we still got a lot to talk about. We got Miami TCG Con to talk about. There was a near 250 tournament or player tournament at the event. There was a bunch of artists there, and overall a great and very successful weekend. Liam and Aaron, I want to ask you guys, how did it go overall? And like, obviously you guys were at the very forefront with the artists and stuff like that. So how did it go getting to meet all the artists? How did it go with them, their signings and stuff like that? So what did you guys enjoy the most, and how was it as an experience for you guys?
Oh man, I can't contain my excitement here. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
You go ahead. You say things like a lot more eloquently than I do.
I do not.
So I can just add on at the end.
I'm just so excited. I mean, you're going to hear it in my voice. I mean, this weekend was really for us
Unbelievable.
just an unbelievable experience. These artists, worked so hard on this set for years, in isolation, and so this weekend represented a significant number of firsts for them, and we got to be there and witness it. The first thing I'll mention is, we had 12 Lorcana artists, which is huge. I think out of 50, 57 we counted in the first set. So 12 is a big number. And they came from around the world. Scotland, Wales, Italy, Germany, South Africa, Peru, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, North America. Did I get them all? I think so. Yeah. So having them all in one place is just was absolutely incredible. And for a lot of them, this was their first time meeting in person other Lorcana artists and getting to talk to them about their experiences and what they went through. It was also their first time for many of them, not all of them, interacting with Lorcana fans. Some of them played their first Lorcana games. Some of them opened their first Lorcana packs, and some of them saw their cards in person for the first time. And so being there as these artists were, in person, in the flesh, connected with the Lorcana fan base to see their passion and experience that was just really incredible. And I could tell stories, but the one thing I'll close on before turning it over to Aaron is all of these artists are wonderful, wonderful people. I don't know how Ravensburger did it. I don't know if it just shows through in their art and or they were lucky, but every single one of these artists is an incredible person. Not only are they super nice and humble and, incredibly talented, but they're approachable. And oftentimes they do incredible work on their free time with their communities, like Panda does in South Africa with Kazi's sketchbook and some of his other projects. So, yeah, overall, I mean, that's my general summary, but I'll let Aaron talk and then answer any questions.
I will interject real quick on the fact that they got to play their first games. I believe Blake got to be Cam Kendall's first ever opponent in Lorcana, which I think is very cool.
That's true.
Blake, can you confirm this, or is this?
Yeah, it was a very fun game. We just played with starter decks. He was Sapphire Steel, and I was Amber Amethyst, and he beat me.
Oh, awesome! Go Cam.
Yeah. I even got Dr. Facilier online and everything, and he still turned it around against me and just overpowered me. But it was a very fun game, and I did get to talk with him on Sunday a bit, and he remembered that he played the game with me, so
awesome.
That was nice.
That's a pretty awesome experience.
Well,
I have pictures of that, by the way, if you need them.
I believe
my wife got some too. She was there.
Yeah, to add on a few experiences that I mean, everything that Liam said and more. I mean, we could sit here and spend an entire hour and a half talking about the incredible experience of this weekend, some of the amazing things we got to witness with the artists. You know, in addition to kind of meeting each other, a lot of them, there was the one and only art director for chapter 1 from Ravensburger was able to attend the con this weekend. And so a lot of them got to meet their boss in person for the first time, which was a really cool experience. And getting to see them, you know, meet the guy that they've been working for many years. Many of them have new art directors now as the Ravensburger team has grown, but he was kind of the guy who brought them on. We hear so often from the artists that when they get the first email or Instagram DM from Ravensburger that they thought it was some sort of hoax, that it was a scam, that, you know, Ravensburger and Disney didn't really want to work with them. And so the fact that they got to meet the guy who was sending them those messages was really cool. Additionally, you know, adding on to the artists, you know, getting to play their first games, it was so cool watching the artists this weekend become fans of Lorcana. In addition to playing their first games, the Miami TCG actually saved them a couple of boxes. So we got to witness a box break where all of the artists got to sit around a table and break a box. And them opening packs for the first time, you know, not only seeing their cards for the first time, but seeing other cards, learning about the difference between, you know, uncommon, common, rare, you know, legendary, like learning all of the different levels and understanding that there's one foil in a pack and all of these sorts of things. And then them starting to get really like them starting to Jones for a specific card, you know, and having that experience that we all have as Lorcana fans when we're opening, you know, booster packs and that sort of thing, to see them start off as like, oh yeah, this is, you know, this is kind of cool, to by the end of the box, many of them were like, come on, get the foil Elsa, come on. And so it was so cool to watch them over the course of this weekend become Lorcana fans in their own right, and get and ask each other to sign their cards and be fans of one another. That was a really special experience for me to get to witness that transition over the weekend.
Yeah, if I could offer one thing, you know, we talk a lot on the channel about, you know, art and appreciating the art and appreciating the artists and all that, and I know most of us do, but I just have to, for myself, you know, starting, you know, studying these artists from day one, like, you really do, after you get to know the artist, whether, you know, even digitally studying their art and learning about them and researching them or watching interviews or meeting them in person, like, you experience their art in a completely new way. And then when you see a card revealed by that artist, like a brand new preview card, and you know it's an artist that you love or an artist that you've met, I mean, you freak out in a way that you don't if you know, you don't know who that artist is. And then you even start to see things in the work that comes from their own experiences and stuff. So, you know, the one thing I would say is, you know, if there is a particular piece of art, you know, in the game that you love or enjoy, maybe your favorite art piece, and you look in the bottom of that card and that's not an artist that you're familiar with, if you take a moment to either meet them at a con or study them or look into them,
look them up on Instagram.
Just look them up on Instagram, yeah, and look at their portfolio, or their stories they're telling. It really changes how you experience your work and experience the game itself. So it's just really cool.
Well, I know what I'm going to be doing after we wrap up here. I'm going to go just on a Lorcana artist binge. But obviously, I know, like, this started a while ago, and it was like, I know Liam and you and I were talking about, like, all the artists that were going, even at Gen Con. So this has been in the works for a long time.
It's true.
And being able to just see this happen, I was out of town this weekend, but I was still, like, able to look on Twitter and look on stuff for the weekend and be able to see what was going on. It was amazing. But beyond the artists, we had a tournament, and Blake, I know you got to play in the tournament. So how did that go for you, and what was the experience like playing in the biggest Lorcana tournament so far, I believe?
Yes, they did start by announcing that it was the largest Lorcana tournament to date. I believe the total number of people ended up being around like 215, 220-ish.
214.
You got that number, Spencer? 214. Yeah. So I know their cap was like 250 something, but I guess unfortunately some people weren't able to make it, but we were still the largest. Um, Overall, for my very first competitive experience, I want to say, because before this I've just done locals, so this is my first real break into the competitive scene. It was a stressful but fun time.
Mhm.
Like first few matches, a lot of people you could tell were this was like the first big thing like this. A lot of people were nervous. My first opponent was nervous, and we just shared in that moment of nervousness of here we go, we're trying this crazy big tournament thing. And just trying to help each other calm down
Yeah.
a little bit. um, uh, but if you want to go into my record for the tournament, I made it to round 5 before I dropped. I started strong and then I trailed off in the end. The deck I brought was the Sapphire Emerald High Five
Mhm.
deck. Uh, with my own twist on it, where I ran a bunch of ward characters. So I had the Emerald Aladdin and Donald Duck strutting his stuff, which was the card I went and got signed by Cam, since he did design that card. But basically, getting to 5 and then just trying to quest my way to 20 as fast as possible.
Mhm.
First match was an unfavorable matchup against Amber Steel. That color combo is my weakest matchup, but I ended up winning that round, so I started off on a high. And then match 2 was Amethyst Emerald Bounce Aggro, which for that one, for aggro matchups is whoever goes first, really.
Mhm.
So for that round, I won the roll, and I was able to go first the first game. They won the game they went first in, and then I won the last one when I chose to go first. So that's typically how aggro goes.
Mhm.
um, and then starting match 3 is where my losses just started coming. Amber Steel again for round 3. That one was hard. I went 0-2 for that one. All of my other ones have been 2-1 or 1-2.
Mhm.
Yeah. Match 4 was Emerald Steel, with the steel cards being my deck's biggest weakness. And then last one was another Amethyst Emerald, but that one I lost the initiative on the first match, so just ended up not winning. But she did compliment me for being the first person she ever saw playing Donald.
Well, there you go. There's
There
a
you
memory.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. All of the opponents I faced were great and friendly,
That's good.
and we all had fun with our matches, made commentary, and just had fun with it. I, I was a little upset that I didn't make it too far, but at the same time, when I saw the breakdown of most of the decks being Amber Steel, I'm like, there was no way I was gonna make it too far in this tournament. That's one of the biggest things that I learned is. So I really need to look into what's being played because, well, the other thing was this was really the only deck I had the cards for, and I could afford the rest of them. Because I have like 0 Rapunzels, 0 Maleficents
Rapunzels.
for the Ruby Amethyst deck. And that was the other thing I was hedging on. I was hoping it would be more Ruby Amethyst than Amber Steel, because this deck does really good against Ruby Amethyst, but it turned out to be a lot more Amber Steel. So I don't think I would have made it too much farther, but I am happy to say I made it to round 5 at least before dropping.
Oh yeah, I think obviously I remember like my first big tournaments in Pokemon and stuff, and very nerve wracking. Walking in there, no matter like how experienced or how many times you've played the game, you sit down in that environment, and it's so much different. Uh, but yeah, I applaud you, and it was great to see your updates in our little group chat on the way as you were going up there. But Spencer, you did a little bit of a different thing. You were judging as part of the PPG team. You're a floor judge, but I want to ask, how did that go for you? And obviously, like you're looking at in the TO judge space. How was that as like your first toe dip into that?
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm super grateful for the PPG team for having me on. It was my first time, judging a large event, and it was an awesome experience. They were super welcoming, very helpful, and I learned a lot. Big shout out to John in particular, who kind of like took me under his wing, gave me some advice, a little mentoring, and I really appreciated that, and I'm looking forward to it. Uh, as far as the experience itself, it was interesting. I was kind of sad because I literally didn't get to do any conning because the tournament started before the con opened and ended after it was closed. But and it was surprisingly exhausting. Like I had to be up on my feet the entire time, more or less, and walking around, checking games and stuff like that. So it was nonstop. A couple of times I had to just like go and like look at a game that seemed to be interesting and sit down and just watch it just because I needed a little bit of a break for a minute. um Particularly on day one because it was intense, but it was super crazy because when you're playing, you're so zoned in on like you and what's happening with you that you don't really get to see a lot of what else is going on. Whereas me, being a judge, I had to walk around and look at everything. It was crazy just how different a lot of the matches went in terms of, you had some people that were just like so zoned in, they're playing the entire game without saying a single word, like and it was just a lot of pointing and things of that nature. And then you had a couple of people, some that were just like super nervous and like you could tell they were really stressed. And then you had other people that were literally just like the entire game, despite this being a high stakes tournament, they're just joking around and having fun and having a good time. And it was just really cool just to see the differences throughout the different games that were being played and the people that were playing them. We didn't have a ton of judge calls. There were a couple of little rules things here and there we got called over for, but nothing too crazy. And only a couple of issues with like conduct and things of that nature, but those got handled really well by the head judge and the assistant head judge staff, and we made sure it didn't affect the rest of the players and things. And I think the PPG team did a great job of making the experience for the players as seamless as possible. And I really appreciated that. And then so like that was day one, 214 people playing, everybody trying to fight for their spot in Top Cut. And it was really interesting. Come day two for Top Cut, it was so much less stressful, which was interesting. Once we had Top Cut going, and then they had the 3v3 1K tournament. And one thing, like I even talked to this about the to the other judges, I was like, everyone that was in Top Cut was just having a good time. They were just all super friendly and excited, and they were having a good time playing their matches. Like, you'd think that would be where the stressful, sweaty TCG playing would be happening. But no, Top Cut was super chill. And I was really, really impressed with all the players that made Top Cut. I know one that stood out to me was a guy named Renee. He was an awesome just player in general, super friendly, super fun, and he's one of Jared's locals, and so I appreciated getting to meet him, and yeah, it was really cool. And then the 3v3 tournament, like, despite it being a 1K, it was just super chill. Like, it was almost there were almost no judge calls at all. Everyone was just hanging out, having fun. The team aspect of the event, people really enjoyed being able to sit there and collaborate with their friends and stuff as they're playing. And overall, day two was just a phenomenal experience for everybody, I think. It was really cool to see the person that won. Jose came in from Puerto Rico, and there was a lot of people from that Puerto Rico squad that came in, and they did really well. So they did an awesome job coming out and showing up and showing what Puerto Rico can put down in terms of Lorcana. I think their team came in second for the 3v3, the people that weren't still playing in Top Cut. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. There's also like beyond the judging and the tournament side of things, I did manage to get to hang out with people after the event, see all the people I met at Gen Con, and meet Blake for the first time and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that stuck out to me was, when the prices for getting cards signed were announced, that a lot of people had certain feelings about it. And I was worried about how that would play out with the artists getting to interact with people, and whether they'd be priced out or not, and things of that nature. And that came up with discussions with some people that were hanging out after the tournament as well. But then hanging out all after day two and talking to people, and talking to the people that did manage to get their card signed, or did some other super special awesome thing with the artists, like getting playmats or comic books or whatever doodled on. Everyone was just super excited, super stoked. And the really cool thing was, the artists, they started doing embellishments on the cards, and they were just so creative, so awesome, and it made it so much more special. Like, the embellishments was such a really cool thing, because it's not just a signature, it's they took and they modified the cards. It's unique, it's something special. And everyone that managed to, everyone that got one was just so excited, so they just wanted to show it off. Like, as soon as you talked, they're like, oh, look what they did on my card, look what they did on this. And it was just such a really cool experience, just seeing how excited people were for their special personalized cards that they got from the artists, and just adding in that extra experience that people are going to remember and they're going to appreciate. And it's gonna help, and when other people see this, they're gonna want it, and it's just going to make it more and more desirable for people to get these cards signed and to interact with the artists. And that's just going to keep them more coming back into the community, hopefully. And that's something I'm super excited about, for sure.
Yeah, I think overall this was just an amazing weekend, an amazing event. I know everyone, if whether you were going or were going, was still excited to see how it would do and how it would play out. And I think this was an alarming success. And I know I'm excited to see the next one. Obviously, there are a few more events on the PPG tour coming up in Columbus, and I believe they just announced one for Orlando right around Christmas time, which is going to be really sweet to see. But yeah, I'm gonna throw it back to Illumiteers. You guys want to plug yourself one more time before we head out today? Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for being here, obviously. But yeah, it was great to talk with you guys and hear your guys' perspectives on the artists and all your times there.
No, thanks for having us. We will come on your show anytime you ask that we're available. You all have been around since the start of Lorcana. We love what you do and we're big fans. So anytime you want to have us on,
Well, thank you.
we're pleased to be here. Before we plug ourselves, if you don't mind, I just want to give a quick plug for next year's Miami. The date is shifting a little bit to the left to near the front of October. I'm not sure if it's that. I think it's the first or second weekend there, to deconflict with some stuff. But we've already talked to the convention owner, and we've already got some artists lined up for next year. I can't say who they are, but the one that we heard about today, we were very excited about. It's a headliner. So if you're thinking about next year, definitely get it on your calendar. Beginning of October, the dates will be announced very soon. But it's the owner is aiming to make it even more of a Lorcana oriented event and more successful than last year. So it should be great. We're excited. Erin, you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So folks can check us out on the tubes of you at the Illumiteers. Also
at Illumiteers.
Yep. And sorry, anyway. And also you can check us out on the artist formerly known as Twitter and Instagram, and I think that's Twitch,
Threads,
Facebook now,
Threads. If that's your thing, it's funny. We are at Illumiteers at all of them except Instagram, where we're the Illumiteers because somebody else had that handle. So one day we're gonna brawl for it. So, but no, we'd love to have anybody follow along with what we're doing, and we love to interact with people. So if you have any questions about anything, send us a note. Yeah, we're excited. So, and thanks again for having us. This is wonderful.
Yeah, of course. We always love talking with our fellow content creators, and after such a big weekend, we love a good recap. But I want to say thank you to everyone who is listening. If you went to Miami, let us know how it went. Go to our Twitter. There will be a post there with the link to the episode. Let us know, how did Miami go for you? Did you play? Did you spectate? Were you there for something else and maybe found Lorcana? But yeah, let us know. And we want to say thank you everyone for listening, and Glimmer on.